Welcome to 5 Minute Pitch. I'm your host, Liz Saunders. 5 Minute Pitch is the competition that gives entrepreneurs from around the globe the opportunity to virtually pitch their business or product idea for the chance to win a grand prize of $50,000. This season, more than 30 entrepreneurs will pitch their ideas via Zoom conference call to our panel of 5 experts for the chance to advance to the finals and pitch to the judges live in Miami, Florida. Our panel of expert judges includes Greg Mercer, Steve Chou, Mike Jackness, and Scott Foker, all 7- and 8-figure e-commerce sellers who have run and sold multiple successful businesses. Today we are joined by guest judge Pat Flynn. Pat is a well-respected thought leader in the areas of online entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and lifestyle businesses. Today, the energetic Dave Manley of MMA Bobbblehead returns to pitch his product and try for a spot in the finals. Good luck, Dave. This is 5 Minute Pitch.
Dave, welcome back to 5 Minute Pitch. Your pitch starts now.
When I decided to move forward with this venture, I went all in. I became a man obsessed with learning about bobbleheads. I needed to know everything from the clay to the paint to the springs, everything. Along the journey in the beginning, I kind of had a couple epiphanies. And one of them was, I thought to myself, why haven't bobbleheads changed in the last 50 years or so? They always look super cartoony, very generic, and frankly, cheap.
Dave wanted bobbleheads that actually looked like the athletes they were featuring, showcasing their signature moves. But all that was available was generic, low-quality bobbleheads that only varied slightly from sport to sport. This was frustrating to Dave. He wanted the bobblehead to actually look like the athletes they were representing.
With mixed martial arts, when they close that cage door, these athletes do amazing things. So one thing I wanted to set out to accomplish was make a bobblehead of these athletes memorializing their moment of glory. And I wanted it to be something in which the fan of that athlete can immediately see and recognize that moment. Like, that's Dan Henderson with his H-bomb in UFC 100, or that's Brian Ortega knocking out Frankie Edgar at UFC 222. I wanted it to be an instantaneous connection with the fan. So then I started really thinking about this as I'm entering this journey, and I started thinking, well, I'm not really creating just a bobblehead. I'm creating more of an experience. And then I started thinking about like my own personal life and the 10-year-old me a long time ago when I used to collect baseball cards. Every blue moon, I'd get a card that was signed by some guy I've never heard of, the right fielder of the Brewers. But I distinctly remember the feeling of connection when I saw that autographed card, even though I've never heard of this player. And I thought, that was a great feeling because I'd put the card on my wall or I'd cherish the card and it was a great card. But it hit me, and I wanted, the 42-year-old me wanted to tap into that feeling again, but supersize it and times it by, 1,000. So that's when I started getting making the bobbleheads. I started getting really good at making the bobbleheads. But no athletes wanted to come along for the ride. I was getting no's left and right. I couldn't believe it until finally one day an athlete said yes, a big-time athlete. And then when he said yes, other MMA athletes said yes as well. So I was getting really good. And one of the things that was like a non-negotiable for me with these athletes is that we would be working side by side in making the bobblehead.
The fighter would input on every aspect, including anatomy, skin tone, hair color, and pose. Once the design was done, Dave would then let the fighter design the box to seal their personality into the product.
Lastly, they all write a personal note and sign it to the fans, thanking them for their fandom and purchasing the bobblehead.
Dave creates an enhanced experience for the fans by posting pictures and videos of the manufacturing process with the fighter on his Instagram and website.
For Chuck Liddell, this is a classic pose. This is what he does after he wins a fight. He has this momentous scream like that. So I wanted to replicate that. This is us painting the heads by hand. And this is what they look like when they're painted. And this is the final outcome of the bobblehead. You can see it's realistic, but yet cartoony at the same time. Same with Bruce Buffer. This will be the reference photo on top. And if you can see, Bruce has like a very detailed card that's very colorful that I wanted to replicate right here. He has a pocket square, an earpiece, a bracelet. You know, I wanted to get as close as possible, but keep it in the cartoony, fun vein. He also has a ring right here. It's a family ring that has a bee on it. I tried to do that as well. It came out really well. Same with Brian Ortega. The one thing about Brian is his braids. He has this really long hair, and his braids always come in differently for every fight. So for that particular fight, I wanted to try to match his braids as perfect as possible, and that meant going braid for braid in the design. So as you can see, I really take a lot of time in designing these and going over every detail. That's my favorite fighter, and that's the guy who I thought of when I started this company, Dan Henderson, the H-Bomb in UFC 100. And this is what the final outcome is right there. So there's a lot that goes on with these bobbleheads, the balance and the pose and the breakage and the fragility of these things. So this is Robbie Lawler. He's very emotional after this fight. Bobbleheads don't usually have emotion. You don't think of that when you see bobbleheads. But with Robbie, I wanted to try to convey that. So as you can see, it's close. And then once we get from the digital art, then we make a physical prototype and I try to paint it as close as possible. I also am making Christmas ornaments, and they're just the exact replica of the bobblehead. They're 4 inches. Well, the bobblehead is 7, and I'm making the packaging and everything really, really nice. So a couple things in those slides that I just wanted to hit on is the detail. The art, art is the foundation of everything, and the craftsmanship and care. And then number 2, I didn't have enough time, is how much time that I put in the Christmas ornaments. And so I just wanted to also say that part of the beautiful thing of being on this is, you know, not just the money, but I hope to get mentorship from you guys, and you know, I'm starving for guidance. I really, really am. I spent so much time learning the craftsmanship of the bobbleheads and trying to make it as perfect for the fans as possible and create an experience that I really neglected the e-commerce side of it and the marketing side of it.
Cool. Well, thank you for doing the presentation.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have the right product, the perfect Amazon strategy, but all you need is cash? Payability is a financing company on a mission to give e-commerce sellers fast, flexible access to capital. They're unique because their approval is based on your seller account health and sales performance instead of your credit. And you can get your money in less than 24 hours. If you're tired of banks not taking you seriously because you're a small business selling online and want to get your inventory to Amazon before the competition, visit go.payability.com/pitch to get a $200 sign-on bonus and discounted fees. That's go.payability.com/pitch.
Dave is clearly passionate about his bobbleheads, and the product speaks for itself. Let's see what questions the judges have for him now.
First of all, awesome. I have a piece here. This is your man, Dan Henderson, and yes. I've never seen a bobblehead of this quality. Like just picking it up, feeling it, looking at it, it's realistic, but like you said, also it has that bobblehead feel. Collector's item, in my opinion. So congratulations on creating something really amazing here. I want to know more about the product and the price and like what does it cost to create? Can you reveal any of those numbers to me?
The product sells for $49.99. We do a pre-sale for $44.99. Let me take it back a little bit. I make 1,000. Okay, so they're limited, they're numbered, and they come with a certificate of authenticity. Out of those 1,000, in the contract with the fighters, they sign 150, and those sell for $75 a piece. But normally speaking, they sell for $49 a piece. Now the cost, they land in a roughly about the $15 to $17, $50, $18 range, like right in that range before I pay the fighter. But to answer your question, $49.99 cost about $15 to $17.
Why only $75 or whatever it is for the autograph? I think that would be a lot. I think that would be a lot more. And do you sell all of those autographs ones when they're released?
I think so too, to be honest. And I think that the 49 should be higher as well.
Dave is not yet sold out of the autographed bobbleheads, but he is selling a great deal of them and consistently. He intends to raise the price of the regular bobbleheads very soon, but started small as a way to get the product sold and his name out there.
I had a question about the limited run of 1,000. The problem is you're limiting, you put all this upfront work in the artwork and design and everything, and then once you sell 1,000, you got to repeat that process. Is there anything you can do to leverage that same bobblehead long term? Maybe it's like an unnumbered version, or that's kind of like a general circulation one or something, to be able to continue to sell and get economies of scale in the upfront work that you're putting into it.
So far in my 7 months, I haven't seen the need to scale up higher because I'm sitting on so many bobbleheads. I'm sitting on a lot right now, and my working capital is so low that I would rather move forward with these legendary fighters that want their bobblehead than think about producing more of a bobblehead that I have, 500 in my storage still. If you're an MMA fan, a UFC fan, and I told you guys who's in my pipeline, I can't believe it. It's so surreal. I thank God every day for the people who have said yes to this. Current champions, former champions, Hall of Famers. And I have to concentrate on the art and moving forward with these guys, including the capital, because they're very expensive to make. So I would love to do that. And if I were to ever scale up, if the UFC ever were to hop on board with me or anything, absolutely, I have to think about doing that.
That's actually my next question there, because you're talking about, like, you have all this inventory, it's a little bit hard for you to move it. What about partnerships with something like the UFC? So like the bobbleheads are in the display case at the event, because there's obviously other merchandise like shirts and hats that are there. I could see the bobbleheads being sold side by side.
Yes, absolutely. So I've had 2 meetings with the UFC, and they're totally into it, but they want a lot of money up front. A lot of more money than I even have, in my savings account for personal life.
Due to the high licensing fees from the UFC, Dave has chosen to keep his products without the UFC logo on them in order to use his money more wisely and grow sales of the bobbleheads.
Do you need permission from the fighter to produce more than 1,000 units?
No, the contract has us at 20,000 units.
20,000 units, and what is their take?
Across the board, it's 15%, and every fighter gets the same deal.
Hey, Dave, how much success have you had getting the fighters to promote your bobbleheads? So, like, after they sign a deal and you make a production run, are they, like, posting these on Instagram or whatever else?
Some fighters are so into this, Greg. They're so into the bobblehead and the creation of the bobblehead, and then all of a sudden when I release it to the public, they ghost.
Some fighters promote more than others, and Dave has seen direct sales results when the fighters promote their bobbleheads on their social media channels.
But that ought to be part of the deal, in my opinion, right? Like, that might be part of the deal, that you have to do X amount of posts, you have to, whatever, your media team, if they have one, that has to get baked in my opinion.
Absolutely, 100% for sure. And in our latest contract with Brian, we added in that they have to do a commercial. So with every fighter that I've made, I've done like a guerrilla marketing commercial. It's like about 30, 45 seconds. They're all kind of tongue-in-cheek cute. So yeah, the last contract I had, we're baking it in two posts a month and a commercial.
Great.
Have you reached out to any influencers in the UFC or MMA space who could potentially move a lot of product for you as well? To help you with the marketing and promotions?
Yeah, I try to reach out to as many influencers as possible within the sport, but the biggest influencer I have are the fighters themselves.
What about your own Instagram? Are you active on Instagram about the process, about what's happening, all that stuff?
Very. I'm hyper involved. So every morning I get up at 5:30 or 6, and before I go to bed, I'll have a post or something locked and loaded from the day before, and I post it every morning. And then if something comes about throughout the day, fight news, cool fight pictures, I'm very active on Instagram Live. I let people know what's coming up, where I'm going to be. When I'm with the fighter, I'll go on Instagram Live with the fighter. I'll ask the fighter questions, and it lets people in, behind the curtain, and it shows people that I'm not just a big conglomerate trying to do a money grab on a space that they see as void. I'm a massive MMA fan, just like these guys too. So they'll ask me questions, and I'll talk MMA all day long. So yes, I'm very active on my Instagram.
Hey Dave, we're almost out of time. Can you remind us how many of these you've sold so far?
Oh yeah, okay. Well, sales numbers were really, really poor in the very beginning. I think I sold maybe $1,000 at first, but every fighter that I released, the sales got better and better. So I think the next month was like 4,000. The next month was 6, 7. Then in the summertime, I hit 14,000. And in October, I did my best month ever, and I hit 25,000 in sales, which for me is unbelievable. And like I said,
okay, so
I'm excited.
So you sold about 500 last month. Is that accurate?
Yeah, including the autographs, it kind of skews the numbers, but yeah, roughly.
So there's 8 people, obviously, that made it to this point. There's 7 other contestants besides yourself that made it to this point, but only 4 can move forward. So why should we have you in the finals over them?
Oh my gosh. Wow, that just gave me goosebumps, that question right now. I mean, seriously, I have never been hit with such inspiration in my entire life. Never. I've never had an experience where the sun peeks in my bedroom window, and I can't wait to kick off the covers to start working on this project. I've never felt like that before. And to not only work on a project, but work on a project for a group of people that are so starving for something like this. MMA fans, they're like the stepchild that no one likes. We don't get anything. I mean, we never even had bobbleheads before this. And I feel like I'm doing such a great honor, not only to the fighters, but to the fans themselves. But besides that, guys, I'm really proud of what I do, and I'm really proud of the work that I put into this. I mean, I'm such a hard worker, and I'm a quick learner. I'm very, very coachable. I'm looking for the mentorship. I'm starving for that. But at the end of the day, I never thought I can do this. I'm so proud of where I've come in this journey. And, I just think about my dad sometimes, and, he's not here. And I think he'd be really proud of, just even me standing in front of you today. And I just feel like I have more of a sense of belonging in my life and a purpose. And if that's kind of cheesy because I'm talking about bobbleheads, but to move forward in this, even to be in the Final Four and maybe get to talk to you guys about mentorship, it would mean everything to me.
Awesome answer, man.
Thank
you should be proud of this. So
yeah,
I know
you should be proud.
It might be cheesy, you're right, because it's a bobblehead, but I mean, the quality and workmanship is amazing, and it exudes in everything you do. So thank you so much for coming on, and good luck.
Thank you, Dave.
Great passion, Dave.
Take care.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The judges love Dave and his bobbleheads. So let's see how they feel after his second pitch.
All right, so what do you guys think of Dave? And
I want to hear what Pat Flynn thinks of Dave.
With him especially, I think out of everybody so far, I feel like he's in it for so many reasons and is all in no matter kind of what happens.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we all agree with you about him as an individual. What do you think about his business?
I think he needs some work. I think there's a lot of options that he has that he hasn't even really explored yet. And I think he needs the mentorship more than the money.
He's got a ton of potential, though, in the marketplace. Like, he hasn't even tapped it. And I think it's because of marketing, right? It's like, great product, not many people know about it. He's done some pretty cool things with reaching out to some influencers or, even the fighters themselves. Now he's baking in that they got to do a promotion. That's a good thing. He did that on his own. I think some direction, though, and some connections.
What do you think he should do?
If I was him, I'd get more involved with like a weekly, either with a Facebook Live or a podcast or something like that. And I know that adds more time, but he's so damn passionate about it. So for me personally, if I had his connections, I would be number one, getting together with more of the fighters during the process and filming a lot of that.
Yeah, that's good.
Or I'd also be doing some interviews with people that you don't get access to, right? And you get access to this, and he's just a raving fan. It's like he's us, or the fan, getting inside, the inside scoop. I would embrace that. I think his business would skyrocket.
Mike, you like large markets. I think this one, out of all the companies that we've spoken so far, has the largest potential, and it's untapped at the moment.
The thing that he did share in his first pitch, I think would be valuable for you to know, Pat, is he has 3-year exclusivity for every fighter that he brings in. They've done that contract. So it sounds like there's a limit of 20,000 units, which he didn't mention before. But I love the fact that he has exclusivity with the fighters. Yeah. And it's one of these things that becomes like wildfire, because obviously like these guys all talk and know each other, and clearly they enjoy working with him. Now he's doubling his SKU count from 4 to 8 really easily. I think that really bodes well and shows that he's got something going where they really enjoy and like him on the inside.
This could be tapped into pretty much any market, right? So like right now, going all in the MMA, I think is where he needs to go. but once it starts catching on, it's like you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's all these other ones, and that he mentioned that. But again, I'm glad he didn't mention it again for the reason of he's focusing on this one area.
I think that's at least 2 years down the road.
It is. It is, because I think this year, and his numbers already showed it, 1,000 to now 25,000. He's doing it, like he said, he's starving for the direction, and because he's the artist, he's the creator.
Don't forget that these sales numbers are month by month. And like, you look at how quickly it's grown, 1,200, 4,000, 7,000, it was like 10, then 25,000. I mean, he's like basically doubling every month or close to it. I mean, that's a pretty good sales trend.
And that's just word of mouth, I'm sure.
That's just word of mouth.
Yeah, and he's got more fighters lined up.
So, I mean, that's pretty exciting.
He's got a big one lined up right now, and he's launching the Christmas ornaments, which I thought that was pretty cool,
neat.
too.
That was the first time we heard about that.
Everything is really, really creative and fun. And
what do you think about the price point?
I think he can get his price down.
Yeah,
I think
he
he can charge more for it. So I think he can widen his margins on both.
I think the signature editions should be at least 100.
I mean, there's only
$150
of them, and I understand he needs to raise cash, but like once they're gone forever. So like, he should be charging like at least $100.
A fan who's paying 75 is gonna pay 150.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would at least go to 100 to start, but then as they get more demand,
that's a no-brainer.
Because he can build so much pressure into the market with there's only going to be 100 of these released, and then as the fans start to collect and they start to build up, now you get a mailing list, or you get your social channels. They're going to be going live this day. There's only 100.
What do you see like the biggest challenge for him in his business?
Well, there are scalability issues, right? He's only going to make 1,000 of these things. This is 233.
Yeah.
I think we can fix that, though.
I think you make a non-limited edition. You just release a general edition.
Or I wonder if you could just do this fighter in a different pose. Because why is it 20,000 per fighter?
That's
is that
what
what it is? It's
contract is.
1,000 for this pose.
That's what he's decided. But it sounds like his contract allows him to make 20,000
What I forgot to ask him was whether that
bobbleheads.
contract was a stipulation of the fighter, only 20,000 units, and that's it. What are some of the negatives of his business?
His overall just passion for MMA is clouding some of his business judgment. I mean, he just like loves this. He's not necessarily thinking about how to grow a successful and profitable business.
And he's an artist too. He plays along with that as well.
There's just like little things like, there's no barcode on this thing. There's no country of origin. Like, it's just, there's just something like, one song like browsing around his site. There's like a number of those little things that like, he's obviously inexperienced with like the business and physical products aspect of it. He's an artist and an MMA enthusiast.
The one big thing that I learned today that's a challenge for me is the barrier to entry to the UFC part of it. Those numbers were big.
Yeah, and to really go big, you probably do need to get in with the UFC. Yeah. Same thing, like when I looked at Google Trends, UFC gets so many more searches than MMA, mixed martial arts.
So if the UFC made all of the fighters sign some sort of contract, they could push him out potentially, right?
Great pitch, Dave. Stay tuned to see if he will advance to the finals in the second deliberation round. Next time on 5 Minute Pitch, Kim Meckwood with Click and Carry returns to pitch her product for a second time to the judges in the hopes of advancing to the finals in Miami.